Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Today, I want to just have a couple words. I'm finishing up the practice session of our planning principles worksheet. And the last two things I'm going to talk about in that is rotating our foods to prevent palate fatigue and mishap drills. So, palate fatigue is basically just what it sounds like. It is that we have certain foods for a certain period of time and they don't taste good anymore. We're just tired of eating them. Sometimes it's flavor that we're tired of. Sometimes it's a texture that we're tired of. So practicing helps us to mitigate how that might go when we're racing. First, I want to address texture. I would suggest starting with textures that are a little easier to chew and digest in the beginning, because as we become a little more dehydrated towards the end of a race, it's harder to chew, it's harder to get those things down, and you might switch to something easier like a gel later on. And then the other thing is flavors. And what I suggest is like picking a couple flavors of things that, say for example, you're in a race that you're using gels. So if someone's doing a half marathon, even on the trails, I think gels can be a really good source of fuel, because it isn't for multiple hours. It might be for 2 or 3 hours depending on the type of race you're doing, but it isn't like 10 hours of gels. So say you find a couple flavors that are good, that work for you, and you have those, and then you save your favorite flavor that works really well, and you have that later on in the race when you have the fatigue of just the flavor of that gel. Similar kind of thing with the texture. Save the texture for later. Maybe there's even something that even isn't the easiest to go down, but it's just a flavor or something that you really like. When I'm doing long trail training and racing, I will often pack just something that I really enjoy. My first Black Canyon, it was Good and Plenty, just because that, for whatever reason, that texture, and it was a little bit chewy, but I could kind of they could also just sit in my mouth and kind of dissolve. And those worked really well, especially towards the end of the race. I think that was pretty much all I was eating towards the end. So practice on this food so that you can figure out things that you could have later that are going to go down easy, things that are going to be appealing to you when you might not be feeling great. We have a thunderstorm here today. And practice with those foods too, to make sure they still settle okay for your stomach. The other thing is a mishap drill, which I've talked to you about that before. So mishap drills are just practicing for when things go wrong. So you don't actually have to build these in, because usually something happens even when we go out for a run that we just have to practice for. We forget something. We forget our electrolytes. We forget our food. Like trying to figure out how to deal with things when things don't go well. I remember one of my Ironman races, felt like I was really well organized, and I had everything mapped out, planned out, lists, everything. And in the morning, I got to my bike and realized I'd forgotten to bring half of my nutrition for the bike. And so I just had to figure it out and use course nutrition and some of my own nutrition. And so be thinking through those things. One thing you can do too is just kind of, even as you get closer to your race, it's often an assignment that I give you, is think about things that you think might go wrong and how you might deal with those scenarios. So even if your race is months away, but maybe there's something that you think about or worry about then just kind of work it out, work it out, and even journal in your running journal. Write out, I'm worried about this. Well, if it goes wrong, here's what I'm going to do about it. And that way you can kind of alleviate your mind from the worry. Well, that is it today for practice. And we'll get into next week, we'll get into how we pivot, how we make changes to our nutritional plans. Have a wonderful week and practice good nutrition. Keep showing up. Do the little things and be kind to yourselves. All right, you guys, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.